I never thought a single step could change the rhythm of my breath. But the moment Harold walked into that room, something inside me stirred like never before, something I tried so hard to suppress, but it was impossible to ignore anymore. My body froze, yet my heart, oh my heart, it was on fire. We weren't strangers, not technically. He was my mother's son from her first marriage, and we'd only met a handful of times before when we were younger. Back then, he was a lanky boy with a quiet intensity and a subtle kindness in his eyes. But years passed, and so did the memory of him, until he returned, unexpected, older, sharper, changed. It all began when Mama Martha asked me to stay over for a few days during summer. She'd been feeling unwell, and I thought it'd be a peaceful break from the city, away from my complicated life and even more complicated marriage. I arrived at the countryside home on a warm Tuesday afternoon, expecting only silence, the scent of fresh lemonade, and the rustle of tall grass from the open fields. What I didn't expect was Harold. I walked in, suitcase in hand, hair still damp from a rushed shower, wearing only a thin cotton dress that clung a bit too easily to my curves. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I didn't know anyone would even be there. I was halfway through the kitchen when I heard the door creak open and a familiar but deeper voice say, "Didn't expect to see you here." I turned. And I swear the moment my eyes met his, something locked in place inside me. He stood in the doorway, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a simple gray shirt that hugged his frame just enough to make me catch my breath. His eyes were still the same soft blue I remembered, but now there was a maturity in them, a kind of silent fire. The stubble on his jaw, the veins along his forearms, the way he looked at me, all of it felt like a story already written in another language, one I was only just learning how to read. "Harold," I said, stunned, and maybe a little breathless. "You're here. Mama called me last week. Thought I'd visit before heading to Montana." I nodded, unsure what to say next. My fingers clenched around the handle of my suitcase. I should have said something smart, something casual. Instead, I just stood there, silent and exposed. His gaze drifted downward, not lingering, but something about the way he looked made me hyper-aware of everything, the dampness of my dress, the warmth of the kitchen, the closeness between us even with the space. I stepped aside to let him in. He brushed past me, his arm grazing mine. That's when it happened. My body froze. But inside, my heart was on fire. It was subtle, unspoken. A rush of something unexplainable. Like an old book cracking open to a forgotten page, like a whisper from a dream I didn't remember having. My chest felt tight, my skin awake in a new way. I didn't know if he felt it too. I was too scared to ask. Over the next few days, we kept bumping into each other in small, unexpected ways. At breakfast, we sat across from each other while Mama Martha spoke between sips of tea. I kept my gaze low, pretending to focus on the crumbs of toast, but I felt his eyes on me. Not obvious, just noticing. Like I was something worth seeing again. One afternoon, while Mama napped, I walked out to the back porch, only to find him leaning against the railing, smoking lightly, the golden hour painting his face with shadows. I joined him, unsure why, and we stood there in silence. "Still married?" he asked without looking at me. The question caught me off guard. I swallowed. Yes, and no. We're together, but it's not really a marriage anymore. It's just space and silence between two people who used to talk. He nodded slowly. "Sounds lonely." "It is." The wind picked up, playing with the hem of my dress. I clutched it instinctively, and he glanced down before looking away, the muscles in his jaw tightening just slightly. "You look different," he said after a pause. "Better or worse?" He turned his head slowly, met my eyes. More real. My chest ached. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house was quiet, and the moonlight poured into my room like it had something to say. I tossed in the sheets, thoughts unraveling. I could still feel the ghost of his voice, the heat from where he stood next to me, the way his fingers had brushed mine when he handed me the pitcher at dinner. I didn't want to feel this way. It was wrong, wasn't it? But it didn't feel wrong. It felt like something I had been waiting for, without even knowing. Around midnight, I got up, restless, and went to the kitchen for water. I was in a thin robe over my nightdress, barefoot. As I opened the fridge and reached for the bottle, I heard it again, the creak of a floorboard. I turned, and there he was. Harold. Shirtless. The glow from the fridge highlighted the angles of his body, the soft line of his collarbone, the deep quiet in his expression. I froze again. He didn't say anything, just looked at me, his eyes tracing the lines of my face, pausing on my parted lips, then falling down to the way I clutched the glass in my hands. Neither of us moved. The air was electric. And then, without a word, he stepped closer. My breath caught. I felt heat rise in my chest, in my cheeks, in places I wasn't ready to name. He didn't touch me. He didn't have to. He leaned close, just enough for me to feel the warmth of his breath on my skin. His eyes were fixed on mine, asking a question that only my silence could answer. And I didn't move away. I didn't say no. I just stood there, my heart racing louder than any clock, my body humming with energy I couldn't explain. That was the moment everything changed. That was when the fire began.